You've probably heard the rumors about the stairs. Out in the woods, miles from anywhere, just standing there. No path leading to them. No reason for them to exist. Some look new. Some look ancient. Some feel like they're watching you back. Most people think it's just a creepy story. Something to scare kids or pass around on internet forums. But I'm here to tell you, they're real. And once you know about them, once you've seen one, they have a way of finding you again. This is what happened to me. Or at least, what I remember of it. I've been working search and rescue for over 15 years. Forest trails, national parks, storm-battered ravines, I've gone wherever the missing go. When you spend that long chasing shadows through the woods, you start to learn what not to say out loud. This isn't a job for believers. We're supposed to follow facts, tracks, and terrain, not gut feelings. But there are stories even the most seasoned of us pass around. Not at base, not in meetings. Just out on the trail, when it's late, and quiet, and there's no one around to call you crazy. It starts like this: if you see stairs, don't go near them. That was the first thing I was told by an old SAR captain named Russo on my second week. We were deep in the Monongahela, looking for a woman who'd wandered off the trail. I thought he was joking, just hazing the new guy. But the look in his eyes said otherwise. He wasn't being funny. I asked what he meant, and he just shook his head. "They'll show up when you're alone," he said. Middle of nowhere. Clean, like brand new. And they shouldn't be there. Then what? I asked. "Nothing," he said, "if you leave them alone." And that was it. He didn't explain further. We found the woman a day later, dehydrated and babbling about hearing music in the trees. I didn't think much of it back then. You see a lot in this job. People get turned around and panic. They strip off clothes. They hide in places they can't get out of. They die under clear skies, a mile from the parking lot. You learn to explain the strange stuff away. But not always. There was a case early in my third year. A boy, maybe 9 or 10, got separated from his family while hiking. They'd stopped to take pictures near an overlook. He vanished in the 5 minutes it took to snap a photo. Gone. No calls answered. No footprints. Just, gone. We found him 3 hours later, 6 miles uphill. His hands were raw. Burned. Not scratched, burned, like from heat. He was curled up at the base of a tree, shaking. When we asked what happened, he wouldn't speak for a while. Then he said, "I climbed the red stairs. The man on top told me not to scream." That was the first time I took the warning seriously. I asked Russo about it that night at base. Was it a joke? I said. That stairs thing. He looked at me for a long time, then poured himself a drink. You saw what that kid looked like? Yeah. He's lucky he came back. After that, I started keeping my own records. Not official ones. Just a private log. I stopped dismissing the patterns. The overlapping cases. The hikers who all said something about stairs, red ones, stone ones, wooden ones leading to nowhere. I stopped pretending I didn't hear the stories. Because if I'm being honest, I saw one too. But not then. That would come later. And when I did, it wasn't waiting. It was watching. There's something that happens in this line of work after a few years. You stop trusting coincidences. At first, you chalk up every strange incident to panic or exposure. Hallucinations, poor visibility, hypothermia, clinical explanations. But then you start seeing the same things crop up across cases, like echoes. The same phrases. The same impossible distances. The same silence. And eventually, you notice what nobody says in the reports. There was a case out in Vermont, a hunter, mid-50s, experienced. Went out for a weekend solo and didn't come back. His brother reported him missing after 24 hours. Search crews found the man's pack on day 2, perfectly arranged at the base of a tree. Food sealed. Compass facing north. But no trace of the man. Until day 4. He came stumbling out of the woods, barefoot, bleeding from the feet, eyes wide and unfocused. Said he'd climbed too high. Said the stairs weren't there until he looked away. And when he tried to turn around and come back down, the forest changed beneath him. He wouldn't talk after that. Checked himself into a psych ward voluntarily. I tried pulling the SAR reports. Redacted. I asked one of the locals who'd been on the case, old-timer, name was Keener. He told me over coffee, low voice, like he didn't want the walls to hear. The stairs, he said, they move. Not every day, but enough. Move? I asked. Show up somewhere new. Clean as a whistle. No moss, no dirt. You ever seen a carpeted staircase in the middle of a clearing? I hadn't. You will. I didn't believe him then. Not fully. I thought it was local superstition. I'd heard variations over the years, everything from government experiments to alien bait. But it stayed with me, the way he said it. Matter of fact. Like talking about the weather. A few months later, it happened. We were tracking a missing woman through dense forest just outside the Smoky Mountains. She'd gone off trail, solo, and her phone pinged one last time before going dark. I was sweeping north when I spotted it. A white stone staircase, perfectly symmetrical, rising maybe 15 feet. No leaves on it. Nowhere. The trees around it even leaned away, like the forest didn't want to touch it. I froze. It didn't feel like finding something. It felt like being found. I radioed it in as an anomalous structure, logged the coordinates, marked the location with flagging tape, then circled back to rejoin the others. An hour later, I returned with a teammate. But the staircase was gone. The tape was still there, fluttering from the branch where I'd tied it. The GPS showed a waypoint labeled, Stair 1. The area was the same trees, same incline, but where there'd been 15 feet of pale stone, there was now only dirt and ferns. My partner said nothing. Just turned and walked away, fast. That night, back at base, I checked the GPS log again. The waypoint had moved. Not by much, just a few hundred feet northwest. But it was still labeled, Stair 1. I didn't sleep. You start to notice it in the quiet. The longer you're near where one of them was, or maybe still is, the woods take on this static hush, like the sound's been drained out. Not silent. Just wrong. No birdsong, no wind. Like standing in the pause between breaths. We'd had a trainee named Mitchell, fresh out of the academy, sharp, eager. The kind of guy who still believed he was going to make a difference. We were doing a joint SAR exercise in a stretch of backcountry we rarely used, thick with thorns and shallow gulches. I hadn't seen a staircase in months. I thought maybe I'd imagined the first one. That I'd let the whispers get in my head. Then Mitchell found one. We'd split into pairs for a sweep. I was partnered with a seasoned guy named Daniels. Mitchell was with a quiet woman named Keeley, solid but quiet. 10 minutes in, we hear Keeley calling over the radio. We found something. Sending coordinates. We arrived 5 minutes later. I'll never forget what I saw. A spiral staircase made of rusted iron, winding upward through nothing. No platform, no handrail. It just curled into the air, unsupported, maybe 20 feet high. Covered in dry leaves, but no dust. Keeley was standing 10 feet back, pale. Mitchell was halfway up. Get down, I shouted. But he just looked back at me and smiled. I just want to see what's up there. He climbed 2 more steps. Then 3. Then he stopped. And stood. Perfectly still. "Mitchell," I said, "quieter now. Come down, all right?" He didn't answer. A minute passed. Then another. I moved toward the stairs, but Keely grabbed my arm and shook her head. She was crying. Mitchell turned around. His face was slack, like a sleepwalker. "I talked to him," he said. "Who?" "The man at the top." I don't remember what I said. Probably something calm, steady. The kind of thing you say to keep someone from panicking. But Mitchell wasn't panicked. He was peaceful. He came down slowly. We got him back to base, where the medics looked him over. No injuries. No drugs. But he wouldn't stop whispering. He said, "I can't go back the way I came." He said, "I don't belong in the middle." He said, "I woke it up." Then he stopped talking entirely. Just stared into space. We kept him under observation for 2 nights. Then his family had him transferred to a psychiatric facility. Officially, the report listed psychological distress due to exertion and stress. The photos Keely took never appeared in the archive. Daniels told me not to pursue it. "Let it be," he said. "Some doors don't close if you look too long." But I couldn't stop. That night I started logging them in detail. Drawing sketches. Saving coordinates. My private notebook began to fill with stairs. Wooden ones in Colorado. Crumbling brick spirals in Maine. Polished black steps that seemed to hum in the shadows. They were never in the same place twice. But they always seemed to know when they were seen. And sometimes, just sometimes, I could feel one watching me before I found it. It was the stillness that started to bother me most. Whenever I found a staircase, the forest would freeze like it had taken a deep breath and forgotten to let it out. The kind of quiet that made you sweat without knowing why. Like prey. Like something bigger and older had paused to listen. They weren't always obvious. Some hid in thickets, wornwood peeking through moss. Others jutted boldly from the earth like broken bones. Once, I nearly stepped onto one by accident, a sleek, slate staircase lying flat in the grass like it had been shelved. No building, no platform. Just stairs rising into nothing and ending abruptly, like a sentence someone got too scared to finish. But what always stood out, no matter where or when, was that they were clean. Not pristine, necessarily, but wrong. The forest reclaims everything, rusts metal, rots wood, eats at stone. But the stairs? They resisted. No vines. No moss. No leaf litter. Sometimes not even dust. I once came across a staircase in the Sawtooth backcountry. Marble. Pale gray. Smooth edges, precise symmetry. Polished so finely I could see my reflection in each riser. There's no reason marble like that should have been out there, 20 miles off trail, in elevation above 8,000 feet. It was as if something had placed it there deliberately, like a calling card. The worst part was the smell. You'd think the forest smells the same wherever you go, pine, wet earth, old bark. But near those stairs, the scent shifts. Not rotten. Not burnt. Just, sterile. Like a hospital that had been scrubbed too hard. Antiseptic. Once, in northern Pennsylvania, I came across a staircase made of rotted hardwood, leaning slightly to one side. Looked ancient, like it had been dragged out of a swamp. As I approached, I noticed something was off with the bark around it. It had peeled back, curling away from the staircase in long, dry strips. The trees were retreating. Like they were trying to get away. I didn't climb it. I never do. That's the one rule almost everyone in SAR has agreed on, whether they believe in them or not. You don't climb. One guy did. Rodriguez. quiet, thoughtful guy. Ex-military. He didn't talk much, but he never spooked easy. We were in Arkansas, helping with a recovery mission. Midday heat, no wind. I saw the staircase about 50 feet off trail, wrought iron, curling at the top, like something pulled from an old southern mansion. Rodriguez didn't hesitate. I shouted, told him to back off. He raised a hand like relax, and stepped onto the first riser. 1 step. 2. The moment his boot hit the third, a sharp sound rang out, like something cracked in the trees. Rodriguez screamed. He fell backward, off the staircase and into the dirt. When I got to him, he was clutching his leg, eyes wide. Fracture. Spiral. No impact, no trip. Just, broke. He swore the stair pulled him. Later, after surgery and pins, he quit. Told me something strange the day he packed up. There was something on the top step, he said. But it wasn't there when I looked. What was it? I don't know, he said, voice hollow. But it opened its mouth. He never told me more. After that, I stopped thinking of the stairs as relics. They weren't leftovers. They were active. And the more I found them, the more I realized something else. They were getting closer to town. The first time I saw one within 5 miles of a town, I told myself it had to be a prank. I was running a quick solo recon through a patch of woods on the outskirts of a rural community in northern Oregon. It wasn't even real wilderness, barely 2 square miles of overgrown trails and runoff creeks. Locals used it for dog walking, teenage dares, mushroom hunting. And yet, there it was. A 20-step staircase of poured concrete, rough around the edges, capped with a flat wooden platform like a stage. Just standing there in a hollow near the creek bed, quiet and out of place like someone had forgotten to take it with them. It had a single trail of muddy footprints going up, and none coming down. I took photos. Marked the spot. Backed off. By the time I returned the next morning with a local forest ranger, it was gone. The hollow looked undisturbed. My GPS ping still marked Stair 9, but there was nothing there except flattened grass and a faint circular depression. The ranger gave me a look like, you brought me out here for this? But the woods were different. Not just quiet, tense. I've only felt it a few times in my life. That pressure, like something's watching you from the trees, not with hunger, but with curiosity. Like it doesn't understand you yet, and wants to. I started noticing them more often near human footprints. Close to cabins. Park perimeters. One was found by a janitor behind an abandoned elementary school in Missouri. Another. Black wrought iron, sharp angles, no dust, appeared in a cul-de-sac in Kentucky, perfectly centered in a fenced-in backyard. The homeowner thought it was some kind of art piece. Called the city. By the time officials arrived, it had vanished. No indentations. No drag marks. Not even a blade of grass bent out of place. It's not just a forest thing anymore. People started sending me photos. Blurry, panicked shots from cell phones. A staircase inside an empty warehouse, surrounded by soot. One submerged partially in a retention pond, steps dry. Another on the edge of a baseball field, visible only after sundown. Some looked ancient. Others, new. As if they'd just been built. And then there were the stories. A boy who disappeared while playing hide-and-seek. Last seen climbing the weird steps behind the shed. A hiker who wandered off-trail chasing a melody, swore the stairs hummed with it. A woman who dreamed of climbing for days, waking up with blisters on her soles. The worst was a message I got through a SAR channel. Unlisted, anonymous. You don't find them. They find the ones who've seen them before. That's why they move. That's why they get closer. I don't know who sent it. I've tried tracing it. Nothing. But I believe it. They're watching. Testing. Getting bolder. And every new appearance feels like a countdown. I used to think they were neutral, strange, but not malicious. Like forest static. But I don't think that anymore. Not after the incident in Reading. That was the first time someone climbed all the way to the top. And something climbed down. The Reading case was buried fast. No press. No photos. No official SAR logs. If you weren't on the call, it didn't happen. But I was. A boy went missing on the eastern edge of the Whiskeytown woods. 11 years old. Out with his older cousin, chasing frogs and throwing rocks. Normal stuff. Then he vanished. No screams. No trail. Just gone. The cousin said he saw a staircase just sitting in the trees, a little ways uphill from where they'd been playing. Said the boy joked about climbing it. Thought it was funny. He said it looked like it was waiting for someone. That stuck with me. When we arrived, I saw it right away. About 30 yards off trail, nestled between thin pine trunks. It wasn't like the others. This one was pristine. Glass stairs. Not plexiglass or acrylic. Real glass. Each step shimmered faintly in the dusk light, catching reflections where there shouldn't have been any. They didn't show the woods, they showed something else. It looked like sky, but the clouds moved wrong. We formed a perimeter. Kept the volunteers back. Nobody got closer than 10 feet. The whole area felt electrified, like the static before a lightning strike. Then a decision came down, one of us would go up. I said no. Daniel said no. But Fletcher, the new guy, maybe 22, ex-Navy, volunteered. I don't buy the stories, he said. Just stairs. He ascended carefully, step by step. The glass didn't creak. Didn't wobble. But with each rise, Fletcher looked dim. Like the light around him was warping. At the 9th step, he paused. Looked down at us. His face was slack, unfocused. Eyes glazed. I called to him. He blinked slowly. Then turned, and took the final 3 steps. He vanished. No flash. No sound. Just, gone. 10 seconds of silence. 20. And then. Footsteps. Descending. But it wasn't Fletcher. Something else came down. Same build. Same uniform. But not the same man. Its skin looked tight, like it had been stretched to fit over the bones. One arm was longer than the other. Its boots didn't touch the glass, they hovered, just above. No breath. No voice. No warmth. It stopped at the base of the stairs. Tilted its head. Watched us. And then walked into the trees. We followed it maybe 10 yards. Then the trail ended. No footprints. No movement. No signal. Just forest. We never found Fletcher. But over the next week, 4 separate hikers went missing in that area. All on different days. All last seen near a weird clear staircase. After that, they closed the section of forest. Official reason? Landslide risk. Unofficially? That staircase stayed for 2 more days. Then it disappeared like the others. But I saw something before it left. I visited alone, couldn't stay away. Sat at the edge of the clearing, watching it shimmer under moonlight. And in the reflection of the top step. I swear to God. I saw Fletcher's face. Upside down. Staring back. Mouth moving like he was trying to scream. But no sound came out. Just that heavy silence. Like the woods were waiting again. After Reading, the reports changed. It wasn't just stairs appearing where they shouldn't. It was people acting wrong after seeing them. One case out of Maine still wakes me up some nights. An 18-year-old girl, Ava K., went missing for 32 hours. Family called in SAR, and we found her huddled near a ravine, dehydrated, covered in brambles, but alive. She couldn't speak at first. Just shook and stared. When she finally talked, she described a staircase, red brick, 3 stories tall, rising from a patch of dead grass in the middle of the woods. She said she didn't climb it, only stood nearby, but something watched her. She didn't remember leaving the area. Said the woods went dark even though it was only 4 p.m. I reviewed her case out of curiosity, but it was the volunteer who found her that disturbed me more. His name was Curtis. Old-timer. Been working SAR longer than most of us. Level-headed. Reliable. 2 days after Ava was found, Curtis's wife called the sheriff's office. He keeps muttering about the stairs, she said. He hasn't slept. Just keeps drawing them. Dozens of pages. Crumpled napkins, the backs of envelopes, even the walls. All rough sketches of staircases, drawn from odd angles, upside down, in spirals, sometimes sideways like they were folding into themselves. Then Curtis disappeared. Not vanished. I mean, he changed. We found him sitting on the edge of a trail outside the recovery zone. At first glance, everything seemed fine. He was quiet, calm. But when we asked where he'd been, he smiled, wide, too wide, and said, "You can't stay on this side forever." That night, he walked into the forest barefoot. Left everything behind. We tracked him for almost a mile, and then, nothing. No footprints. No signs of life. Just a dead patch of earth where he'd last been. Not scorched, just lifeless. Every plant wilted. Insects dead. A single boot print on a flat rock. One that didn't match Curtis's tread. We think it followed him back. Other SAR teams started reporting strange behaviors. Members walking in circles, claiming they were on a straight path. Hikers vanishing in clear daylight, steps ahead of others. Voices over the radio calling for help, using names of people already rescued or dead. I had a radio call last month. I was alone, scouting near the Shenandoah Ridge. My comm crackled to life with heavy static, then a voice came through. Mine. Same tone. Same speech pattern. My exact voice. "It's all right," it said. "You can come closer. They just want to know your name." I shut off the radio. Didn't turn it back on for hours. Whatever these things are, they're learning. Mimicking. Testing boundaries. It's not just about pulling people in anymore. They want to replace something. Like the stairs aren't the destination, they're the door. And something on the other side is starting to open it. There's a term some of us started using. Echo walkers. They look like the missing. Sound like them. But they're not. Not really. You see it in their eyes first, too still, like they're looking through you, not at you. Their voices come with a half-second delay, like a recording struggling to sync. One man returned to his family after being lost for 3 days. He hugged his wife. Kissed his kid. Then he went into the backyard and stood perfectly still for 4 hours. Neighbors said it looked like he was listening for something. When they tried to talk to him, he turned slowly and said, "I never came back." Then he started walking. And no one's seen him since. They don't come back broken. They come back wrong. I think it's worse now because we talked about it. Because we gave it language. A few years back, someone posted about the stairs on a forum, a no-sleep thread, something meant to scare you but not be real. It was real. That post opened a door. Now, people who've read it see them. Even people far from the woods. A guy in Arizona emailed me last month, said a staircase appeared on the roof of his apartment complex. Another woman said she dreamed of one outside her window every night for 2 weeks, then woke up standing at the edge of the woods behind her house, barefoot, facing a spiral staircase made of bone-white stone. And me? I've stopped sleeping. Not because of nightmares, I can handle those, but because I hear footsteps above my bed. Not in the attic. Not on the roof. Above. Like something's walking across a place that isn't there. Not yet. I've started keeping track. Writing down when they appear, where, what time. The patterns are tightening. The distance is shrinking. One showed up in a subway terminal in Chicago last month. Right between platforms. Vanished before security could get there, but the footage shows a commuter walk straight up it and disappear at the top. Poof. Gone. She hasn't been found. Her husband received a voicemail later that night. No message. Just breathing. And something creaking in the background. I don't think we can stop them. I think they've already crossed over. Maybe not all the way. Maybe just through cracks. But they're here now. And they're patient. You don't have to climb. You don't even have to see them. You just have to believe they're out there. That's the invitation. That's the key. I used to think we could map it. Chart the appearances. Build a system to avoid them. But the more I learn, the more I realize. The stairs aren't moving closer. The world is folding in around them. And soon. There won't be any place left where you can't hear the sound of footsteps. On a staircase that isn't there. Maybe the stairs were never built to lead up or down. Maybe they're just thresholds. Places where the rules bend, just enough, for something to slip through. We tell ourselves the forest is quiet, that the trees are still. But sometimes, the stillness just means something's listening. And if you ever sense something watching, just out of sight, it might not be waiting for you to come closer. It might already be here. Sleep well. If you can.